A motion picture we've waited to see. A flash of colour between the trees. A fiery launch into the unknown. And we wait. The noise echoing through the forest. The spirit carried by the wind, driven by machine, driven by man. And we wait. The noise is closer now. The passion is closer than ever. The fire, the clatter of machine, pitched against nature's machine. Elements within our control, elements out of control. We have history forged in this gravel. We have a heritage in the crunch of 1,000 boots, marching to the action, living for the action, ready for the action. This stage, the scene of so many battles. This place, the stage of so many stories. Of drivers, of cars, of people. Of bravery, of heroes. This stage, bursting into life. We've driven this road 100 times before. We'll drive it 100 times more. This story will be told again, and we'll tell it now. No more waiting. This is our stage. The Cambrian Rally marked the start of the BTRDA Championship, and a high-quality entry should have seen some great battles on the stages. Local driver Luke Francis had his bad luck before the rally had even started, with a road traffic accident after testing the freshly rebuilt Evo ready for the opening round. Hugh Hunter would be another casualty of the pre-event test, the car grinding to a halt on the stage with suspected damage to the engine. But for those who did make it to the start, the conditions would be much worse than they'd planned. Snow was falling heavily in the stages, and with a layer of ice underneath, it meant that just getting through the opening stage was proving too much for some. With stages 2 and 3 being much higher than the opening stage of the day, it was proving impossible to get the event's safety marshals and even our cameras into position. So the organisers had no option but to cancel the rally, with only a handful of crews making it through the opening stage. And they all did well to avoid hitting anything when they spun to a stop. For those that did make it around the corner, there was just the matter of getting up the small ice-covered hill. Any speed too low would result in a very slow ascent to the top, and there were still many more miles of the stage to get through. So you see the challenge facing the crews and, of course, the organisers on a difficult day like this. For those who decided to go a little faster than the rest, it just meant that the problems were bigger. overshooting the junction in style, but thankfully coming back out again in one piece. So after that difficult decision to cancel the event, it meant that the championship didn't quite get off to the start that we'd anticipated. But that, believe me, isn't going to stop the spectacle over the season or indeed change the battles that we have come to expect. If anything, with one less round, it could just supercharge them. The cancellation of the Cambrian Rally now means that the BTRDA season becomes a shorter one. With not enough of the event run to classify as a round, it means the season becomes 7 rounds long, changing the dropped scores and indeed giving anyone who didn't make it to the first round a chance to start the season fresh in March. Round 1 of the BTRDA hadn't got off to the best of starts. Icy conditions caused an early end to the season open of the Cambrian, much to the relief of some crews, especially those who didn't make it beyond the pre-event testing. So round 2 becomes effectively round 1 as the scoring changes and the slate is wiped clean. The championship heads north then to Cumbria and to the Malcolm Wilson Rally, and the challenging Lake District stages await the crews. With a strong entry, the NR4 class will be fought outside the top 10 at this round, with Richard Hill and Steffan Evans taking the #1 position at the halfway point. The class was as close as always though, with Sacha, Kakad and James Aldridge lying second in the battle now, just 6 seconds back from Hill. And for Russ, Thompson and Andy Murphy, it will be third, just a further 4 seconds back. However, a puncture in the second stage of the day would lose the pair some valuable time. No change for Russ Thompson and Andy Murphy though. They take third place in the Group N battle. The tyres in the afternoon stages probably not lasting as well as they'd hoped. And there'd be change for Richard Hill and Steffan Evans. Sadly, they wouldn't keep hold of the lead. For them, it would be second place in the class by the finish of the rally. So that would mean the first Group N victory of the season goes to Sacha, Kakad and James Aldridge. They take the win in that class, as well as finishing just outside the overall top 10 in 11th. The BTRDA Rally Series travelled to its most southerly event this weekend, the annual pilgrimage to the Somerset Stages Rally. And despite being a gravel championship, this round would feature a couple of runs up the now iconic Porlock Toll Road. Scrutineering and Rally HQ would be in the popular seaside town of Minehead, as would the rally start, bringing motorsport to the people. We caught up with a few of the crews to find out their thoughts ahead of today's rally. It will be a good start in the Group N battle this weekend for Richard Hill and Steffan Evans. They open up the early advantage there, 15 seconds of a lead in the class at this stage, as well as 6th place overall. And they'd share that overall time with David Wright and Steve Pugh. The focused WRC pair making a good start to the day with that 7th place on the leaderboard and climbing. And rounding out the top 10 at the midway point of the rally were Patrick Naylor and Ian Lawrence. Back in the championship this season and back contesting that Group N category. 2nd place theirs, and proving they hadn't lost too much of the pace in that time that they'd been away. Just outside the top 10 and 3rd in that Group N fight were Russ Thompson and Andy Murphy. They get caught napping a little on the opening stage, put themselves in a chasing position, so we are assured of some entertainment at least in the second half of the day as they fight back. Stage 9 would see us lose both Luke Francis and David Wright from the results before they even pass our cameras, meaning it will be all change in the top 10, and it will be Sacha, Kakad and James Aldridge taking that 10th place overall. There's frustration though for Richard Hill and Steffan Evans. The afternoon would see them lose the lead in the Group N fight, slipping down the order into 3rd in the class at the end of the rally, as well as 8th place on the leaderboard. For Russ Thompson and Andy Murphy, it would be 2nd place in that class. A puncture close to the end of the final stage of the day may well have been the difference in that class victory, or at least the fight for it. But they would still be happy enough with that result, making it back to the finish for an ice cream by the seaside. All of this, of course, means that it's victory in the Group N fight for Patrick Naylor and Ian Lawrence, returning to the series after their time away and proving that they still had the pace to fight at the very top. The BTRDA Rally Championship nears the halfway point, and this weekend returned to Wales for the Plains Rally. 8 tricky stages through some classic Welsh forests. Somerset Stages winner Stephen Petch leads the cruise away, with current championship leader Callum Black next on the road and looking to maintain that lead after this round. Pat Naylor and Ian Lawrence will be having another good run this weekend after recently coming back to the championship, leading the way in the Group N battle with around 8 seconds of an advantage in the class, as well as 8th place on the overall leaderboard too. And rounding out the top 10 were Andy Davies and Max Freeman. The pair will be lying 2nd in the Group N category this weekend behind Naylor. The time's still close enough for a big push and some entertainment through the afternoon stages. Meanwhile, for Russ Thompson and Andy Murphy, as entertaining as ever, it will be a place further back overall in 13th, just rounding out the podium places in the Group N category this morning. Frustratingly though, that category would lose its first crew, Richard Hill and Steffan Evans unfortunately retiring at the end of the first stage of the day.
Talking it. It's quick.
In the Gold Star, it will be a third place finish in the Group N class for Russ Thompson and Andy Murphy. The pair leaving this round, leading the Production Cup Championship with this result in the bag. Davies and Max Freeman, keeping hold of second place in the N4 class for the second half of the day and lying just outside the top 10 with 11th place. Pat Naylor and Ian Lawrence have a great run this weekend to make it another Group N victory. They were back with a bang, and this result would of course boost their championship campaign for the season. The Carlisle Stages takes the BTRDA crews into the western side of the infamous Killer Kielder, and this weekend would certainly live up to that reputation. Stephen Petch leads the Gold Star crews away with Conor McClure just behind. And Russ Thompson and Andy Murphy make a good start to the day. The lead in the N4 class was exactly what they came for. It was all quite close though. The pair were clearly pushing on the stages to keep ahead of the rest of the pack. For Sacha, Kakad and James Aldridge, it will be second place in the N4 class. This event hadn't always been kind to them in the past, but this weekend they were keeping it on the road, lying inside our top 10 with 9th overall. Just outside our top 10, in 11th place, it was Dan Moss and Sam Allen at this stage. The times would see them lying in 3rd place in the N4 class as well. There's more frustration, sadly, this time for Patrick Naylor and Ian Lawrence. Their end to the rally would come before service, retiring in stage 3 with rear diff problems. But for Andy Davies and Max Freeman, things would be much worse. They roll the car on this right-hander, much the same as their result here last year. onto the gold star then on what had been a pretty tricky day between the trees here in Carlisle. Third place by the finish for Dan Moss and Sam Allen. That result would be little consolation for the pair as they crashed the car in the afternoon stages and would eventually get going again after 15 minutes behind their class rivals was lost. For Sacha Kakad and James Aldridge, it will be second place in the N4 class this weekend. The fight at the top of that class was close, just 8 seconds in it. But taking the class victory this weekend were Russ Thompson and Andy Murphy. Another good result to add to the collection for the pair this season, taking 7th place overall too. But it would be a new name at the top. Peter Taylor returning to the championship with his new WRC car and taking his first victory of the season, putting the cat amongst the pigeons for the remaining rounds in 2017. So on to round 6 then, and it would be Stephen Petch leading the way with Callum Black just behind. Peter Taylor looking to be in the mix again, third on the road in Wales this weekend. It would be a great start though for Sacha Kakad and James Aldridge. They lead the way in the Group N battle. The lead there had been changing hands all morning, but they come away with that #1 spot at the end of this first loop of stages. Second place in the Group N battle behind Kakad now were Russ Thompson and Andy Murphy. They were getting a little close to the edge on some occasions, as we've seen on all too many occasions, but they were keeping things on the road and still managing to entertain the spectators to take 7th place overall. Third in that class were Richard Hill and Steffan Evans, just 6.2 seconds behind Thompson, and they'd be on a push in the afternoon to try and take that second place. Group N shaping up nicely for a big fight here at round 6. And rounding out that top 10 were Pat Naylor and Ian Lawrence. The pair had been swapping times at the top of the Group N fight, but sadly, they dropped down a little in the 4th stage of the morning. Unfortunately, Pat Naylor and Ian Lawrence were unable to gain any more time back on the Group N fight. They'd have to settle for 4th place in the class, as well as 9th place overall. There's frustration though for Richard Hill and Steffan Evans, unable to take any more places in that Group N battle. They settle for 3rd place. Still a good end to the rally though, with 7th on the overall leaderboard. And for the hard-charging Russ Thompson and Andy Murphy, it will be 2nd place in the class. Still pushing hard throughout the afternoon to take that position, as well as 6th place overall. And that meant it would be victory, of course, in the Group N class for Sacha Kakad and James Aldridge. A great start to the event, set them up nicely for that win. Just 5.7 seconds in it by the finish though. Group N is still a close place to be doing your rallying. After a short summer break, the BTRDA season kicked off once again with the Woodpeckers stages. This year the sun was shining and that meant only one thing: dust. Stephen Petch leads the championship crews away from Ludlow this weekend, with Callum Black close behind. The Group N battle would, as always, be hard fought from the off. Russ Thompson and Andy Murphy reaching service with the lead in that category this morning, and it's a lead of 15 seconds. Thompson's closest challenge for the position would be Richard Hill and Steffan Evans. They lie second for now. A spin on the opening stage hadn't helped their conquest, but things had gone okay since then, with the fight beyond. Pat Naylor and Ian Lawrence will be struggling with the car's setup. They've been on tarmac settings for the rally at Donington Park, and the change back to gravel seemed to have upset the car somewhat. They lie third in the Group N battle for now, but they were struggling as things went on.
And Johnny Roberts in there, Mactavish Evo 9, and we can't actually see whether he's got back underway. He's been enveloped in a cloud of dust up here. We've got the box that's
On to that top 10 then, and it would be a third place in class finish for Pat Naylor and Ian Lawrence. They hadn't had it easy, and they hadn't quite had what it had taken to be in the fight completely. But the times would be good enough for that podium. As it had been all day, second in the Group N fight would belong to Richard Hill and Steffan Evans. The championship title race going down to the final round in Yorkshire. 8th place overall. Russ, Thompson and Andy Murphy come away this weekend with the Group N victory. They were pushing right to the finish, almost losing it on one corner in the final stage of the day. But they do make it to the end in one piece, crucially ready to head to Yorkshire to fight for that championship win. The Track Rod Rally marked the final round of a close-fought BTRDA season. And with the title already going the way of Stephen Petch at the previous round, this weekend would be a chance to fight it out for those class and category positions. And let's not forget, it's Battle Royale in Yorkshire. Charlie Payne leads the way this weekend with Stephen Petch second on the road. And Sacha, Kakad and James Aldridge would have the lead in the N4 class to start the day. This will be one of the battles going down to the wire here on the final round of the championship. And so far, the pair would have a 1.8 second advantage. And that advantage would be over this man, Pat Naylor, Ian Lawrence alongside. The times were close. They had been all season as well, with 3 more stages to go. After a busy and hard-fought season, it was going to be a close fight to the finish. Sadly, for those who've been enjoying the fight so far this season in the Group N class, no longer in it were Russ Thompson and Andy Murphy. The fuel pump breaking on the car after the opening stage, ruining that chance of the championship title.
80, 6 left.
Will be close as predicted in the N4 class. This morning's leaders, Sacha, Kakad and James Aldridge, unfortunately coming out of the event with 2nd place. No misfortune for this pair though. That means it's victory this weekend in Yorkshire for Pat Naylor and Ian Lawrence. A win that also secures them the class championship for the season as well.
Yeah, absolutely. A few seconds from Sacha. A great day, great battle, and it was flat out from the beginning. Oh, plenty of problems, but no problems really with the car. Everything worked well on that score. It was just the driver getting a bit leery at times. But yeah, good.
The BTRDA Rally Championship then has given us plenty of highs and lows and close battles throughout the season and throughout the entry as well. And although the season may be over, don't worry. Keep an eye on our social media for plenty of news, videos, behind the scenes content and things you just haven't seen this year yet to get you through the winter break until the BTRDA and special stage returns in 2018.